Hello and welcome to this time's edition of the Monthly Mystical. Today we are going to talk to Christina, who is a member of the Treadwell's Bookshop. So we're going to find out some more, and she's going to be talking about Treadwell's and about witchcraft. So that's going to be exciting. Okay, so let's get her in. Ooh, let me just change my view.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Christina. How are you? All right?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm really well. I have a bit of a cold, but I'm well. It's not COVID. I've been tested, so I'm just having my lamb sit and having a quiet day.
Just the usual winter toils of Okay. So yes, you were. So is it? I'm not sure where your position is in Treadwell. So just give us a little rundown of
me and Treadwell's.
Yeah.
I am the founder of Treadwell's. I decided about 20 years ago that I really wanted to make an esoteric bookshop. I've been shopping in esoteric and mystical bookshops since I was a child, because my mum was a bit of a hippie, and I was just feeling like I really wanted to change in my career. And so I started looking around at places in London, that like had empty shops, and found a little place on the edge of Covent Garden on what was then a shabby side street of Covent Garden, with an affordable rent, and took a little lease, and we opened up on May Day 2003, and it was just me. And I had no money for staff. I'd been buying books like secondhand for a couple of years and sticking them in boxes, and my little flat was piled with boxes, because I was just buying books at like 50 pence a piece, and knowing that I was going to open the bookshop. And then we opened on May Day, and all the bookcases were things that I'd got from bookcases that people had left on the streets, and whether they were selling in their selling from when they were moving house for a tenner. So we just did it very very much on a shoestring, and it was just me. And I didn't know how we were going to do it, because it was just me, but I paid the bill sitting at the till, made all the phone calls sitting at the till. And very, very quickly, I had a couple of mates, one of whom wasn't working. She was, and she, so she became like a helper. And then other people came in who offered to help. And it was just very, very much almost a volunteer thing for everybody, including me, for the first few years. And we just held on and built up and built up and built up. And lo and behold, we're now at 18 and a half years.
Wow. I always imagined it being there forever.
No, I know it looks quite old-fashioned, so it does look like it's been there forever. But we're only 20 years old. The other mystical bookshops in London have been there much, much longer. Watkins is the oldest. They were founded in 1891. The current owner found some documents going back to 1893, and I said, no, I think I've seen a document going back to 1891. It's really, so they're the great granddaddy, and we're really good friends with them.
Oh, brilliant. Yes, so only 20 years. That's really surprised me. I thought it'd been going for a lot longer than that. Because that's one of the major ones that I've heard of, along with Atlantis Bookshop and Watkins. And and I just thought it'd been going on forever. It's got that look about it. It's such an amazing little Aladdin's cave of you can't go to the centre of London if you're anything into a cult without going into your shop. You just can't.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I think one of the things that we were really aware of, because we opened just when Amazon was getting going, and so we knew that we were going to have competition from day one from them, from the first day. So what I realized that it had to be worth the trip, in terms of the experience. And, you know, why would you go all the way and buy a travel card and walk around and find it down a side street and go in and, you know, have to, you know, find things in the semi-darkness and all that, when you could in fact just get what you wanted by clicking a button. So we just thought, you know, we had God, somebody lent us a suit of armor, which we had stuck in the corner for a while when they lent it to us. And we had this mad old, you know, sofa, which we still have, which was somebody was throwing out, but it was an antique and it had these swirlies on it. So we thought, we'll just stick that in the middle of the shop. I wanted it from day, and God, we had some sort of pretend stuffed owl. That again, some like gift shop was, you know, some party shop was getting rid of once. So we had these kind of mad things from day one, so that the aim was that when people came in, they would say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I made the effort."
Yeah. It's definitely that's
a place you want to tell your friends about, or you say, "Oh, you know, let me take you to this crazy place." We didn't mind being that crazy place. We're really happy to be that crazy place. You know, it just, you know, why would you make the effort when you could in fact buy it from Amazon? So we just knew we had to do better on the like slightly bonkers experience front.
Yeah, there's nothing better. You can't get the same experience from looking at your laptop and clicking a button. No way. Just doesn't.
The other thing that you know, clicking a button can't do is chat with you about what's the best book for you. You know, exactly. Somebody says, "Oh, you know, what's the best book for starting out in magic?" I'll be like, "Well, tell me a bit about yourself. Are you somebody who reads a lot? Are you somebody who reads a little? Are you somebody who really learns better from pictures? Are you, you know, are you interested when you say magic? Do you mean like a little bit of a folk spell, or do you mean Kabbalah? You know, or what is in your imagination when you say, I want to learn about magic, even if you're a brand new beginner? You know, what was the movie, or what was the thing, or what was the friend that made you go to the trouble of coming into a shop to try to learn about it?" And then we can make the recommendation, you know, and say, "Well, look, based on what you said, I'm going to pull you out 3 books, go sit on the sofa, see if any of them are right for you." Amazon doesn't do that. So.
No, definitely not. No. So you've got a little room I've been to quite a few times, a little room downstairs. And you do courses and stuff there, don't you?
Yeah.
Lectures and things. So tell us a little bit about, you know, what goes on down there.
We also knew from
great little place.
Yeah, the idea of Treadwells from day one was that it would be a place that you would go and you'd get good information from good people. You know, nobody's going to try to rip you off. Nobody was going to try to, you know, tell you needed to have sex with them. You know, all the things that, you know, quite frankly, younger women are particularly vulnerable to that kind of thing. And, you know, many people are financially vulnerable to scams. And also, you know, we were very clear that, you know, we wanted to, anybody who we thought, what are things that are good to know? And then we went and found people of what was good to know. We thought everybody should know a bit about tarot. People should know a little bit about the Kabbalah. I used to be a university lecturer, so there's like things in history that are really interesting to know. But why, you know, come to a lecture on John Dee? Why not learn about that? So our starting point was good people teaching good subjects and teaching them in a fun way, with a good knowledge base, and that we would make sure that it was you know, we would do all the work. So if somebody, any Treadwells workshop or class is, you know, we can't guarantee that 100% of the time it's going to be 100% good experience, but we've done a lot of pre-work. We've done a lot of work before it gets to being advertised on our website, or before anybody crosses through that door. We've seen the tutors' handouts, we've talked with them. We've also seen their other classes before we engage them. So a lot goes into that, you know, there's a lot of care, and there has been since day one.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely if you want to learn a little bit about something, then get onto your website, right, and have a look, see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I understand that you're into witchcraft.
Yeah, that was my thing. That was where I started, and that's where I stayed in terms of what, you know, what's nearest to my heart. I've dipped around. Everybody needs to know their Kabbalah. Everybody needs to know their Thelema. I'm from the age group where we all used to go to pub moots. And, the great thing about the pub moot culture, for anybody younger listeners, those of us a bit older, anywhere in the UK, that was such a great social education and also a really good all-round education in terms of what's good to know about. Just like a sort of like a going to a pub moot used to be like a foundation course in magic. This talk on runes, somebody sitting next to you who's really into Enochian magic, somebody's over there who's the Kabbalah person, somebody else there who's knowledge about this, that, and the other, and you just like after a couple of years you have a bit of a sense of everything.
Wow.
And it was really good. So, but for me, the thing that really took me right from the heart was the witchcraft, and because the witchcraft, in the sense of it being a spiritual path, the path of the wise, and devotion to the goddess and to the god, and to keep the seasons turning. And I applied to a coven, and I was eventually they took pity on me and accepted me. And I just, I took a vow to be a priestess in that, to be a witch and a priestess, and to stay true to the path, whatever that would mean to me. And that was 32 years ago. And wow. It's really, somebody once said, if you want to go deep, dig in one place. And I thought that felt really true to me, but I think as we all do, need to find the right place to dig deep for us based on who we are.
Yeah.
And I felt very, very lucky that I found the right place. I want to go deep. I want to dig in one place, and this is the place I want to do it. So I keep the wheel of the year. I keep the full moons. I have my brothers and sisters of the art who I'm very close to, and we just it nourishes my soul. It really nourishes my soul. As I imagine, if you have a magical life, that it's just like it's centering, it's calming, it's gives me a sense of purpose and meaning. I believe it matters. And I feel really privileged to be walking that path. I feel really privileged and happy, just as happy as can be about it. Seeing me through some ups and downs, through my parents' deaths, through all the life's changes so far, and it's like oh, it's just always there. It's it's the thing I go back to. Wow. I've got a friend who does loads of yoga, and that's her part. And she says, whatever is going on in my life, I take it to the mat.
Yeah.
She just, gets in her body and gets on that mat. Whatever's going on, she does it. She takes it to the mat. Oh yeah. I think I take it to the circle.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the history of witchcraft, because I don't know too much about witchcraft. It's a bit like, it's a kind of, I mean, you can learn loads of stuff online, but it's to me, it's like a little bit of a closed door, because I just, it's not in your face. It's
not in your face.
Some of the other things that are out there are very much like, oh, it's there, but witchcraft isn't. It doesn't seem to be in my opinion.
Witchcraft's always been something you have to look for a bit. I think it's having a little bit of a moment. Spellcraft is having a bit of a moment, but witchcraft as a spiritual path, which they invented the word Wicca for that in the 20s and 30s, and it's been used ever since in this country in that way. And it's what it is it's a spiritual path that one conducts with other people, and you're inducted into it, into a coven, and you're inducted into the tradition, and the things that a witch is supposed to do in that tradition. You're made a witch and a priestess, and you're a priestess of the goddess, the great goddess of nature, the great goddess of life, and the god who is a representation of death and eternity. So there's a dance between the force of life and the force of death, and the eternity and recreation between them. And how that plays out is that the full, keep once in a month and better it be when the moon is full. Remember, make a circle and worship and remember and learn magic and look inside yourself. So that's 13 times a year. And then the 8 points of the turning of the seasons, remember life, remember death, remember fertility, remember growth, remember things that are cut down. And we do a ceremony for each of those. And it's almost like you're trying to give, on one level, you're giving energy to the old gods of the land so that nature becomes stronger and the divinity and the reverence for nature becomes stronger. And also in ourselves, that we have a better appreciation of life and death and all the facets in every relationship we have, that we have a sort of grow in maturity and wisdom about that. I found when my parents got quite old and then they got sick, and then there was some looking after them and they died. And as you get older, there's more death in your life. There just is. And I've had a few young friends die down the years. And I think I won't say like it's given me a comfort because I believe in an afterlife. I think my faith and my path has given me a lot of strength, because every time we come to the autumn and the winter, I'm thinking about death. I have to. The ceremony says, think about death and think about your own and think about who's passed and think about what you learn from them. So every autumn and winter, I'm kind of, I would say, rehearsing for it, but I'm engaging with it, and that's been really cool. I'm very grateful for that, because it made me able to be a better sister, it made me able to be a better daughter, it made me able to be more helpful to the people I loved who were dying. And I'd like to think it would help me, that it helps me have more balance, as it's going to keep on happening. Yeah. Welcome to older middle age. Oh
yeah, tell me about it. So what's the difference between paganism and Wicca?
Paganism is a subsection. So Wicca is a particular way to be pagan.
Okay.
So within Christianity, you could be a Baptist, or you could be a Catholic, or you could be a C of E. And the Wicca way to be pagan is with these priestly dedication, and with a commitment to doing it in a group, and certain little bits of folklore handed down inside the tradition. It's not special or different, really. It's just if you're in Wicca, then it means you're doing it in a group. You're doing it in a group, and you're doing it in with some particular structures that are taught to you and that you pass on. So I know who, I was initiated into a coven, and the people who were the head of that coven, they were like kind of like second parents. They were they were like an auntie and uncle to me, and they saw me do all sorts of stupid things in my 20s and 30s, and they were there when my first marriage broke up for me. And when they got really old and, bless them, had heart failure, those of us who were younger, even if we'd left the coven and gone into other things, we went there and took turns looking after them, and we're there in the hospital with them. And so it's sort of like an extended family relationship, and that's quite particular to Wicca, that you kind of say, I'm going to do my life with these people in it, Okay. I mean, nobody's paying any money. There's no money ever changes hands, but you just say, I'm, thank you for what you gave me of the tradition, and I do it maybe a bit my way, you do it a bit your way, but we'll always have a special link.
Yeah. So what's the history of witchcraft then?
Yeah, you did ask about the history of witchcraft. Something happened in the Victorian era when they were sort of building over the whole of the forests and the farmlands to make, Manchester and Leeds and the industrial north, and then London was spreading. People started realizing that actually how much they loved the land, and how much the forests were getting lost, and how much the connection to the cycles of nature were getting lost. And so they kind of looked back to the pre-Christian era and said, the old gods and goddesses are land gods, and they're the gods of like all the cycles that we're kind of losing because we're working in factories. We should hold on to them and try to give them some energy. Yeah. And that was how paganism was born. And the people who were at the forefront of that effort were groups of friends who believed, turns out not to be quite true, but they did believe that the historical witches who'd been burnt at the stake had been the priesthood of that pagan religion. So these people, like in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, reincarnation was a very big belief amongst sort of slightly bohemian English people. And these people are sort of having these past life memories of having been witches who had been, burned at the stake. Excuse me, it's my cold.
Oh, bless you.
So they were like, oh, I think I was burnt at the stake. Okay, I'm going to sneeze. No, okay. I think I was burnt at the stake. I remember being, dancing around under the full moon before the witch hunters caught us. And I think I've been born again now with you guys, they would say to their friends, so that we could bring back that old pagan religion and give energy to the old pagan gods of the land to, to bring back a different way of being spiritual. In the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, it was really radical to, just say like, I don't think, bodies are bad. I don't think singing and dancing and being joyful and free and not wearing a corset is bad. And we have to remember that was a time when a woman had a child outside of a marriage. That was her life over.
Yeah.
Her life was over. And these 1920s bohemians who were looking back to a pagan era and imagining the witches' Sabbats of the witch trials, that those were people who thought that was wrong.
Yeah.
What's wrong with having pleasure in your body with somebody you desire? Who demonized that? Oh, Christianity demonized that. And they were like, well, we're gonna bring back just a matter of fact delight in life and delight in happiness and delight in the joys of the body. Drinking, dancing, singing should not be sinful, and women being in charge shouldn't be a shock. Women and men living together unmarried shouldn't cost them everything.
Yeah.
So they were really forward looking. They had this idea that somehow in the past, in a former life, there had been a time that they had done this before.
Oh, wow. So got to talk about the Salem witches. Do you think that came before it came over here? I mean, that's supposed to be a lot.
Yeah, well, what happened was the Salem witches was it came from England, and the Salem witch trial was very, very late. That was at the end of the witch hunts. Over here, we're just dying out. But then there was some crazy fanatical people in New England, because the most fanatical Christians were the ones who had to move to England. They were so fanatical that even English government considered them too religious, hardcore. So when they're over there, of course, those are the people who are going to be, they're obsessed with the devil, they're obsessed with demons, they're obsessed with the idea that anything joyful is clearly from Satan. And they were having some financial, there were economic difficulties in the villages. And what they find is that witch hunts always happen when there's economic difficulties and political difficulties. And it just flared up. It became really famous because it was America's only one.
Yeah.
In England, we had a few, and Europe had thousands of witch hunts. It was really tragic, particularly Scotland and Germany and the Netherlands.
Wow.
And Denmark. They were mad on it in Denmark.
Wow. So what would you recommend for somebody who wanted to get into or to start practicing witchcraft? How would you suggest that they
for a younger person, I really like somebody under 30, I'd really recommend Gabriella Herstick, a book called Craft. It's just lovely and engaging and really just a wonderful way to start. If somebody was interested in Wicca as just to learn a little bit about what is that priestly path, for those people who have a calling for it, there's a book by Vivian Crowley called Wicca, a comprehensive guide to the old religion. And she is, you know, I think she's the only person who's really written about it that's in print. I mean, as you said, it's not jumping out at you the whole time.
No, that's right. So if anybody wanted to go and join a coven, how would they go about that?
The first thing they would do is I would probably say read Vivian Crowley's book to see if it chimes, and then after that, there's a book that we recommend to everybody. It's called Traditional Wicca by Thorne Coyle, and that actually is a whole book dedicated to understanding whether this might be your path and what you're likely to find on it as you apply to covens and apply to the tradition. And then if having read that, you still think it's for you, then there's a Facebook group called Gardnerian and Alexandrian Seekers, the two branches of the initiatory tradition are called Gardnerian and Alexandrian. And in America, they have to use those words, otherwise it gets very blurry. So, but that is a Facebook group. It's called Gardnerian Alexandrian Seekers, and there's, you know, they're covens listed, and they say, and people can ask questions about that the tradition, and get you know, find a group to apply to.
Cool. So is there anything that we shouldn't be doing? So if somebody would say started experimenting on their own and feel like,
I think the most important thing is to remember it's about finding the sacred and finding the quiet and the sacred and delight and the sense of enchantment that a lot of us had as children. And that's where magic really lies in the place of enchantment. So whatever a person does, you know, turn all the lights out, light some candles, light some incense, that or go out in nature, go out in a forest, or go somewhere that's special to you, and make the time for it. And that it's something inside of us that wants to come back, and it wants to wake up, and it wants to go, oh yeah, that lovely special feeling of peace, that lovely special feeling of delight and wonder. But that we believe in Wicca, we believe that is beautiful and powerful and transformative and healing, and it's like that's a little flame that's worth nourishing.
So do you think you need magical tools, or
no,
you don't?
No.
So
if you join, I mean, like if you become a Catholic, they're going to say, right, you need a rosary, you need, you know, you should do this ceremony stuff. But if somebody's able to become a Christian, like this isn't my religion, but you don't need the outside to have the inner experience. No. So if somebody wants to practice some witchcraft, and say, if you want, you know, Poundland has tea lights, right?
Yeah.
You know, joss sticks. I would say the thing you probably need is candles and incense and the ability to turn your light out, because it changes the atmosphere, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah.
And just, you know, some leaves off a tree outside, you know, or some flowers, just even from this side of the road, you know.
Is it true that witches get naked quite a lot?
Yeah, skinny dipping. Absolutely love skinny dipping. These are the people who would just like go out under the moon and see a beautiful, if they're near a beautiful lake, they'll just take their kit off and jump in. I
suppose that must be quite empowering.
It is. It really is, actually. You know, to take your clothes off and just go like, I'm going to dance around naked. I think some of us have done it in our living room at home alone. You just feel like, I just want to feel free. And the old witches from the 20s and 30s just said, you know, yeah, take your clothes off and feel free. Be free. Anything that helps you feel free. You know, they say, take your hair down. You know, if your hair is in bunch up or in a back, take it out. Put the candles on, put the incense on, put some music on, go outside, stay inside, however you feel free and alive and happy. Be that way. Yeah.
But maybe not going out in public naked.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just, yeah, maybe you're in your dance around your bedroom.
Dancing down London. That might not be a good thing.
Yeah, maybe not.
So I was going to ask you what 3 books you would recommend for a beginner. You've already given me sort of a couple already, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I give you Gabriella Herstick Craft, I give you Vivian Crowley Wicca, and the third one I give you is Traditional Wicca by Thorne Mooney.
Okay, excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell me?
I think that's it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you
I
very
hope
much.
that's been really enjoyable. Thank you for inviting me. It's
So
just
we
such a
will
pleasure.
add all the links in under when I've done the video and all sorts.
Okay.
And definitely for Treadwells, and we'll plaster it everywhere.
Oh,
So that we
thank
can get
you. That's really kind.
think,
And thank you so much. And we'll promote it too. You know, we'll promote your
yeah.
site.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Well, I can't wait to be getting back down to Treadwells, but I'm not going to be going there for a few months because where we used to do some stuff was not there. That's been closed down. Well, we're just not allowed to do it there anymore. So yeah, so our next trip to London will just be a nice touristy one. So I'll definitely be coming to see you then.
Please.
Or I might come and do a course because you've got plenty of courses going on, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's for the rest of today. I'm going to be putting courses up online. So
brilliant.
I think I've got about 20 to put online. So yeah, wow. The director of events is really just, you know, like got me. He's working me hard.
Excellent. Yes. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
It's been a pleasure.
Soon.
Thank you so much. Bye then. Wow, that was so interesting. Yeah, I didn't really know that much about witchcraft, and that's kind of given us a few insights, hasn't it? Now I'll put the links to the books in the comments, and obviously a link to Treadwells. So without a doubt, if you're in London, you have to go to this bookshop. You just have to go. It's the most glorious place on the planet. I love it to death. And I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Monthly Mystical. Please subscribe to my channel. You're going to be seeing a lot more interesting interviews coming up in the near future. And yes, so subscribe, share, like, and I shall see you all very soon. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.